between Sokoto and Shokoto, Nigerian sports development. As a writer of a weekly column, sometimes I run out of subject to write about. It is called the writer's block. The mind goes into idle mode, blanketed by the innumerable moving parts of life. So scanning through my mind for the bigger stories often obscures the smaller and sometimes more significant ones that could turn the tide of events and even history. That was my situation yesterday. The biggest news in the world was of Mr. Donald Trump returning as the 47th president of the United States of America. And even in my little village, it was the subject of some conversation. One would rightly ask, therefore, what has Donald Trump got to do with the price of fish at the Wasimi weekly market? Plenty, as it turned out later. For 17 years, I have been running a specialized sports secondary school located in Wasimi. Before Mr. Trump's first coming in 2016, my school was preparing, processing, and sending a minimum of 4 of the best 20 student athletes that graduated every year to colleges and universities in the USA. These institutions had interest to recruit exceptionally gifted, young, and qualified Nigerian student athletes and offered them scholarships. It was a process that was running smoothly until Donald Trump became president for the first time. With Trump in power, the conditions for transiting to the USA became more challenging and more difficult than the proverbial camel passing through the eye of a needle. In the 4 years since his exit from office till now, the immigration has improved only ever slightly. It is still a trickle that may now be truncated by Trump's anti-immigration pronouncements during their campaign. One can now start to appreciate the link between Trump's victory in the USA elections and my humble investment in the lives of some young Nigerian student athletes under my care at the Segun Odegbami International College and Sports Academy in the tiny hamlet of Wasimi, far from the theater of American politics. As Donald Trump returns to power, pictures of that not-so-distant past in the academy returns, leaving my mind reeling in the worry of what to do now with many of the students already working hard at both their sports and academics, and now seeing now how the nozzle of their movement to the USA may soon be completely blocked again, shattering their dreams and hopes. So yesterday, my mind was heavily burdened by the possible implications of a new Trump era. So, writing this column had to temporarily go into idle mode, with my mind in a blank state, waiting for guidance, a spiritual prompting, when the elements will intervene and the creator of the universe will show up as he has always done in all my affairs. Then, as always, it happens in full accordance of my discovery of that deep spiritual aspect of life that the Creator always shows up. He always shows up. Whilst waiting, I directed my energy to the Garden of Eden, a bamboo entertainment place under construction in the vicinity of my school here in Wasimi. A message flashed across the face of my phone. It was from a Nigerian athletics coach who rarely communicates with me, even if I was partly responsible for his current job as coach in a renowned secondary school in Port Harcourt. 2 years ago, in recommending him for the job, I knew he was one of the best talent hunters and developers in junior athletics in Nigeria. He's that good. If Bukati were to be a Jamaican, he would be a part of that country's National Athletics Development Program for sprinters. He would be a major player in that marker of sprinters. From my studies, great coaches are mined in Jamaica and then attached to the national program, a new model of athletics development. The country has changed its developmental model from that of sending the best young talents to the American collegiate system to a more domesticated model of homegrown sports development using trained local coaches and specialized sports schools and clubs to reduce the immigration of athletes to the USA to a trickle and to build a solid local production process using well-trained coaches. That model has worked very well for Jamaica. Within a few decades, Jamaica has become the sprint capital of the world, producing some of the best male and female sprinters, Johan Blake, Usain Bolt, and Fraser Price, and a whole army of other new and emerging young sprinters waiting in a long line. So, on this day, Coach Bukati Ayodele Sholaja sends me a love letter on my phone. Thoughts about him flashed through my mind. I recognized the moment immediately. The creator of the universe is showing up. What is it about Bukati that needs my attention? He was a former national champion in decathlon. He became an athletics coach. He coaches now in a school in Port Harcourt only because he has to survive. Since retiring and becoming a coach, he has discovered and nurtured several local athletes to international stardom and accomplishment. A few have become world-class athletes. And he did these things through his own small, privately owned Buka Tigers Athletics Club based in Shagamu. He has been a part of some Nigerian delegations to some junior international events, but his full-time coaching has been in his own small club. Meanwhile, from that, his small stable have emerged, amongst others, 3 Olympians representing Nigeria: Agnes Osazua, a sprinter; Ezekiel Nathaniel, a hurdler; and Toby Amushon, you remember her, the hurdler world champion. That speaks volumes. He discovered and trained Toby Amushon before she immigrated to the USA. The connection of all of this to my dilemma of a blank mind yesterday, and that's Wasimi and Donald Trump, starts to dawn on me. With the recent return of the National Sports Commission, a new era in Nigerian sports begins. It is time to start thinking of deviating from sending Nigerian student athletes to the USA as our major model of athletics development. With Trump, it will become even more difficult. That's why Ayodele Sholaja popped up yesterday. He is on my mind now. It makes sense now. He is the subject of my column this week. Although he may be a small character in the world, he is also a potential giant. We can convert the seeming disappointment of Mr. Trump's return into a blessing in disguise for Nigeria by altering the country's old strategy of sending student athletes to the USA to that of domesticating the development process through Nigerian schools and sports clubs deliberately prepared for that purpose, particularly in athletics. The National Sports Commission should start to think differently and outside the box. It can start with a small and simple program of support for local coaches, for clubs, academies, and specialized sports schools. Ayodele Sholaja may be a good place to start. In short, Nigeria may be searching in Sokoto a town in northern Nigeria, for what it may already have in the pocket of its Sokoto, its trousers.